And no eye yet. There we go. Now we're live. There we go. Ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast with your host, Joey with Steelblade Woodworks, Matt with Wacky Works Workshop, Jen with Jen's Turns, Jamie with JP Woodwork, and Jake with Northside Custom Crafts. Welcome to episode 9. I'm Joey with Steelblade Woodworks, and today we have Mr. Nick with NPG Creations. How's everybody doing?
Oh, nice.
You're doing all right there, Joey.
All right. You want to bring him up there to the hot seat.
Gotcha.
There we go. Look at that beautiful gentleman there.
Ooh.
So, how we usually start off, Nick, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And why don't you give us a rundown of how you started in the woodworking business and what you're doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me. I've never been on a podcast before, so this is kind of a new thing for me.
Yeah.
But
Hashtag rookie.
But so I'm sure everybody here dabbled a little bit harder in their woodworking experiences during COVID. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's when we were doing that deep dive into that creativeness. But I was making some things at Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst just for around the house, and I decided to get a X-Carve CNC machine. And once I did that, COVID struck, and all of the plaque shops were closed around the area. So nobody could get any awards, or nobody could get any like going away presents for people, because I'm active duty in the Air Force. So on the air base, all that stuff things never stop. Promotions, retirements, and when people PCS or transfer stations, that never stops. So I was like, well, who am I to deny these people, what they need if there's a demand for it? So I started putting my X-Carve to work and making plaques. And then I started venturing into shadow boxes and challenge coin holders as well. And then, word got out. Now I'm doing home decor, and all up until I left New Jersey in 2021. And that's when I ended up here in San Antonio, Texas, where things kind of changed for me. I started getting into the laser game. I have an OhmTech laser, and I do a lot of laser etching and cutting with the laser. And so I started making signs. I do a lot more signs than I do shadow boxes and plaques and such now. But it's been pretty good to me so far. And I retire next year from my active duty job, and I will take this full time. But That's me in a nutshell, man.
Cool.
Awesome. Hey, for everybody at home, my name is Jake. And first of all, thank you for your service. And I usually do a little icebreaker thing. Me and my granddaughter were looking at your Instagram today, mostly on no volume because,
Oh, yeah. I do have some not safe for work items on there.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm watching it, and she's sitting there telling me some stuff I don't care about. So I said, I don't care, right? And so she was like, yeah. And so we looked a little more, and I said, what should I ask this guy? And she goes, whatever he says, you need to tell him you don't care. So there you go. That's not a question. That's just an icebreaker. So if my granddaughter's watching, I just told him I don't care. So there you go.
Well, I appreciate that, Jay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jen with Jen's Turn, and I do care. So let's see. You mentioned, Nick, that you're active duty, and you were in Jersey up till 2021. One of my questions was going to be, have you had to move your shop with all of your military stuff and transferring? How big of a hassle was it to move all of the machinery?
Oh, it was a pain in the rear. I had to. So when I was in New Jersey, though, I had a 1-car garage. So it was jam-packed full of tools and, CNC machines and all that. And I moved it myself. It's called a partial ditty move, which means partially do it yourself. And there's nothing against movers. There's some fine people. However, I just don't trust anybody touching my stuff that has any value to me. So I did it all myself. I drove I forget how many hours. It was ridiculous. It took me 3 days to get here, and just towed it all behind my truck and a U-Haul. And yeah, that's the only time I've moved all this stuff.
Yeah, look at that.
So I hope that suffices as an answer. But yeah, I don't plan on moving it again. I'm going to stay here after I retire. So.
Okay, you are staying there. Nice.
Yes, ma'am.
Where does your career?
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Where does your creativity come from? I mean, I've seen some of your shadow boxes, and you got it in there like perfect, and it looks very well put in there. But where does that creativity come from of getting it in there?
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment, but that is mostly camera angles. I am a terrible woodworker. No, I'm playing.
Lots of wood filler.
Most of my creativity comes from the customer. So I can thank the customer for providing me with an idea. And I have them usually give me a rough bar napkin sketch of what they want. And after having some conversation with them and working things out about species of wood or color and all that, then I take it from there, and I'm just a conduit. I just turn it into a reality. And a lot of times, though, I am recreating things that have already been made by other people, but these folks just don't want to go through a big company to get it made. They want to go through a local maker. So
nice.
But yeah, I do get a lot of inspiration, though, for the mediums that I use, such as like acrylic and metal looking acrylic and just nicer hardwoods through the Instagram community. There's a ton of resources out there through sign makers and woodworkers, other makers. Just the entire community has opened my eyes to possibilities. And every now and then, I'm sure you've all had this, where you're like laying in bed at night or you're sitting at the kitchen table and you have that aha moment where you're like, oh my goodness, this would be super awesome if I could just do this. And you develop I guess you could say a plan. And always write it down, though. You got to write it down because you're going to forget the next morning. Like, what was it I came up with last night? Yeah.
Especially when we get to our age. A lot of things.
It's rough, man.
It's rough. Yeah, but that's how I end up going around and figuring out what I need to do. And yeah, just a combination of different things.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. I'm Jamie from JP Woodwork. So I've constantly heard whining from Jake and Joey about how there's no trees in Texas. And since you're a resident of Texas at the moment, I was wondering if you found any difficulties in getting lumber.
That is a great question. So I thought when I first moved here, there was going to be an issue getting lumber. And the first place I went to, I forget what the place was called, but the guy was outrageous with his prices. I'm like, I'm going to go bankrupt I'm just, going to have to close my doors because I'm not going to be able to afford materials for the price points that I'm going to have to put out there. Right. And then I found a place called Dakota Hardwoods down here, and I can get cherry wood at like $2.60 a board foot.
What?
Yeah. Oh, and that's for 13/16 S2S. I can get 13/16 S2S walnut. Actually, it's surface 3 size actually for about $6.50 a board foot. It's really impressive how they have streamlined the process of bringing in these. They even exotics too, but they're ridiculous in price. But still, if I want it, I can get it. And now things are going great. I can keep my prices to where I'm still undercutting the local competition, but I'm still making a good profit. So
yeah, that doesn't make me and Joey liars, Jamie. I think what you were fishing for, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let it be known that that's 3 weeks on a row with a good question.
Yeah.
Hey, good job. Good job.
what's cherry wood run you in Great Britain?
No idea. I use plywood.
He's
Okay.
he's a bowl turner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go by bowl blanks.
Well, I didn't know if they do you guys have regular lumber yards like we do here in the States?
Oh
or
yeah. But it's not about me. It's about you today.
Oh, I better mute this. My son's coming.
Uh-oh. So that was a good segue into going into this. My question is
Hold on.
uh-oh. Hey,
Star of the show right there.
There's a
There you
Ninja
go.
Turtle. You'll see
It's
that
all
Ninja
right.
Turtle?
Sorry, he had to ask me a question.
No,
and,
you're fine.
Well, I mean,
It's all
I
good.
think it's interesting. He asked me if aliens were real, so just now. So I told him that the truth was out there. Anyway,
There you go. So that was a good segue into mine. I was gonna ask. So, what is the material that you most like to work with? Because you build a lot of things. What do you prefer to build your products out of?
well, if the customer has the budget, I love to use walnut. That's my absolute favorite wood to work with. I find that majority of my projects, if I'm using wood, it's going to either be Baltic birch or cherry wood. And then a lot of the times if I'm doing Baltic birch, it's just going to be a backer for a sign that I make out of acrylic. But
Right.
That's been key. Instead of gluing up, hardwood planks to stick acrylic over top of, which I used to do like a dummy, I just started using my laser to cut out Baltic birch and in the exact shapes, everything lines up perfect.
Yeah.
And it leaves that nice black edge so it looks finished,
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, man.
Hey, to make up for my first question, I do care. And as I was looking through your
Sure,
Instagram. Yeah, just at a quick glance, it's very obvious that there's levels of this, and you're a couple notches above most. That's a
Yeah,
compliment.
Well, I
sir.
appreciate the
And so, like, what do you think does that? Is it just experience, or did you start off with a good level of detail orientation, or like, what do you think it is?
Honestly, I can thank the Instagram community for giving me the ideas and the processes, the best practices to get better. Everything else, I mean, I've always had an eye for detail when it comes to like artwork, and but before I started this journey, I was never really building anything that was going to be presented. It was just like cornhole boards and 2x4s and a piece of plywood slapped on top. We didn't really care if everything lined up perfectly. So, yeah. So I can thank Joey Steelblade for for teaching me a lot as well.
He's all right, huh? He's all right.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
It really is. You can see if you go back to like your very beginning of your journey on Instagram and you look at some of the things that you may have built or sold and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe somebody paid money for that. Right.
Well, it's funny because before even social media, the stuff that I used to build before there was pictures taken, but it was never out on social media. One came up on my Facebook. My wife reposted it, and I was like, lady, get that off the internet. It made me turn red like a tomato. If you can imagine when I seen that, I was like, my God. Oh.
Yeah, it really is yeah. But Brady, I'm on a podcast right now, buddy.
Can I have a movie in your bed?
No, not right now. Thank you. In a little bit, when I'm done with the podcast. Thank you. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. Go ahead.
But
It's okay.
anyhow, it really is kind of just a measure. There he goes, a measurement stick to see how far you've come, and you periodically do that. Go back to like beginning, middle, and where you're at now, and you can just see the progression. And that's if I am getting better, I notice. If you're not getting better, then there's an issue, right? Because I'm not a master of anything. And I think that a lot of people, very few people are a master of anything. So just measure your success by your progression. And I think that's a good way to gauge whether or not you're heading in the right direction or not.
I agree.
Jenny?
I noticed that you use a lot of acrylic in your work. Have you noticed, is that harder on your laser or your CNC compared to the wood? You have to do more cleaning?
So no, I don't know. I clean my lens once a week. When I first
Okay.
started though, see, this is like a measurement stick, right? I don't know if you can go back in my Instagram, but there was a picture of my lens on the first Tech that I ever had. And that thing looked so grody and it wasn't cutting. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. I took the lens out and you couldn't even see through it. It was nasty. I'm like, oh, that's why. So, but yeah, I don't know. I keep it maintained. I clean it once a week regardless. So it stays sharp and the focal point's right there. So
Nice. Okay. There's a question from the chat. Martin Brees would like to know, Nick, how often do you hear I can get it cheaper at Walmart? Or is that just a Kansas thing?
Well, I hear I hear it every now and then. It's mostly Amazon. I can get that cheaper on Amazon or Etsy or whatever. It's like, well, you're welcome to go there, but that's your prerogative. If you're on a budget and that's all you can afford, then that's I recommend you do that. But for most people, the reason they're coming to me is not because they want to save money, but it's because they want a product that's quality that I can provide to them. So, yeah. And I try to be respectful about it because I know some people get upset and are like, well,
So talking about back in your beginnings of where you started from, what advice would you give somebody that was just starting out?
If you're just starting out, I would say make contact with people that you like their work. Start networking, and people will open up to you, and they might spill over a little bit of best practices or processes with you, and every little bit helps. And it's not really like you can't really pay for that, that sort of information. Once it becomes part of your process, it's invaluable pieces of information that I'll pass it on. Any of my processes, I'll pass on to anybody. You can ask Joey. If you need help cutting with a laser or doing something, I have no problem, because everybody's trying to get to be better, and that's what I'm here to help with. So anyway, I just saw a message come up. Who was that said they love my work? Oh, it was Martin. Hey, thanks so much, Martin. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and she says she is loving the perusal of your IG.
Oh, well, I appreciate that as well.
That's a cool word too.
Perusal.
Yeah.
Perusal. I should have put my glasses on to say that.
Put your glasses on.
Yeah. So
perusal.
Here's the disclaimer, though. If you don't like bad words, you can go ahead and mute some of the music.
Man, I missed my cue again.
Could
have got it.
There you go. So following on from Jen's question about the acrylic that you use in your projects, whereas most people that I've seen anyway use resin, do you have a reason as to why you've chosen to take the acrylic route as opposed to using the resin? Maybe a visual or time or another reason, maybe?
Absolutely. Let's see. So it is hot as all get out in Texas, and a lot of the resin that I was using for various projects before, I would have problems with either setup time being too fast or things not setting up in time. And it is messy and very expensive, and I can turn more out with acrylic. And I think it has a professional look to it, as just like resin would. So
yeah, I mean, you certainly don't want to start mixing at 105.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah. Did you ever hear the story of the first time I poured epoxy?
No, but we're gonna hear it now.
Go ahead.
We're gonna hear it.
Because he was throwing a jab at me with his little comment there.
Was I?
No.
No.
Jamie
No,
was.
Jamie was.
Jamie was.
Oh yeah, I got that. Yeah.
They never forget anything. So every now and then you'll hear they just keep on going. Like the Energizer Bunny. But go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So the very first time I poured epoxy, I was making a set of cornhole boards where I routed out grooves on the surface of the plywood, so I could put LED lights and string them through those grooves. But you have to bore a hole at like one end or the other of the what do you call it, the mortise, in order to get route the lights underneath the board so you can have a battery pack mounted. So I was like, cool, sweet, I'm going to do this. I went ahead and mixed the epoxy. The lights were already in there, and I forgot to caulk the hole with that silicone.
No.
So I'm in my garage in New Jersey, and I have all this epoxy just disappearing on me. It's like going in the groove and just going like disappearing. And I'm like, where is this? Where is it going? Yeah, it was going on the floor underneath. And so I'm in a t-shirt and shorts, and I'm getting like napkins and whatever and trying to stuff it in the hole. And I got epoxy all over my arms, and then I got tape I'm trying to tear off. It's all over my hands. I got epoxy all on my face now. So needless to say, I had like rubber flooring in the garage, so it didn't get the cement, but I got some on the cement. I'll tell you how to get rid of that in a minute. But I was like the abominable epoxy monster when I went inside, and I tried to wash it off. It just does not come off, not all at once. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to bed. And I woke up the next morning, and the bed sheets were stuck to me. I couldn't. At the time, my ex-wife was pretty mad because I ruined a set of bed sheets. It was bad. But yeah. Oh, and if you want to get epoxy off of cement in your garage, use an angle grinder. It'll take it right off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
So
Maybe you should do that to that. Never mind, I forgot. I went blank. I was gonna hit Matt with this chuck that he filled with resin. Anyhow, that was a big old fail there.
Yeah. That was a double fail, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save
So-
Joey with a question from the chat.
Oh,
There we go. There we go.
Bear Paws Wood Shop would like to know, what is a project that you really would like to make that you haven't done yet?
well, I want to make larger signs out of acrylic, and I haven't been able to because of people's budget constraints. So the largest that I've made so far has been roughly 33 inches in diameter, but I want to start doing like 4 foot in diameter signs, which I know I can do. I just need somebody to place the order. So if you're listening, place the order.
There you go.
I always tell people I can make them bigger. And like, so I don't know if you've ever had somebody order something from you and they just have no concept of how big an inch is. They're like, well, yeah, I want it to be like 48 inches. I'm like, you do realize as a going away present for somebody, this is something that's going to take up an entire wall. And they're like, well, how big is 48 inches? I'm like, well, you pretty much described it when you said 48 inches, but just imagine a 4 foot person standing next to you, and that's how tall in diameter you have to worry about. And they're like, oh, okay, maybe we should go smaller. I'm like, that's probably a good idea. Anyway, plus the cost prohibits a lot of units and stuff like that from ordering signs that big.
Oh,
Oh, hey,
Wim
Victor.
says
Hey,
you
there's
look,
Victor. There's Victor.
you look relaxed.
So you're super, super busy and you got an actual job. And I would like to know, and probably everybody out there, how do you deal with the amount of work you have to put out during the month and your job? Because you are super busy. How do you deal with that?
Well, I used to just go hard in the paint all the time, every day. And balance was all jacked up in my life. And so when So late last year, it was like I was always working in the garage. I was always, working at work, and I was never home for the family or doing things I should have been doing. And I paid the price for that. And so my health started to decline, and other things happened in my personal life that I paid for dearly. And now I have a schedule, and I don't typically do that. So I still work hard at what I do, but I make sure there's time for my kids and time to do things when I need to take a break, Right. And I'm not talking like that 10-minute shop break. I'm just saying, like, I'll schedule 1 or 2 nights a week off from doing what I'm being paid to do.
Yeah, you're good. You're fine.
That was a Clydesdale.
Yeah. You're all right. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah. So you guys edit this, or you just send it?
No. We edit it. Don't worry about it. You're
Matt's
fine.
Matt's taking notes. You just mentioned a while ago about pricing and stuff like that. We've all agreed. We struggle with that. So what is your process for pricing things, or how do you go about doing that where you make sure that you're not undercutting yourself?
Well, so I know that I have a formula for pricing if it's something that is not being sold in other places, but there is a store here in San Antonio that is outrageous with their prices. So I'll go in the store and take pictures and stuff like that of like, and they're like, "Oh, can I help you?" I'm like, "No, I think I got all I need." And I'll go and I'll evaluate whether or not I can make money off of making that same item or not for less. And most of the time, which is more often than not, I could probably cut them by $50 or $60 and still make money. And then that will in turn vector more business towards me for whatever it is. But some of the stuff is ridiculous. Like if you're charging, I know you got to make money, and I know you have overhead and all that stuff, but if you're charging like $50 for a little nameplate just because somebody wanted to put a poem on there, it literally takes less than 5 minutes to etch, So anyway, that's just me. I don't charge per character. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
Do you get most of your customers through word of mouth or Etsy, or how are you getting your business primarily?
Most of my business is through word of mouth and Instagram. I do have a lot of Etsy traffic, but it's just for the simple plaques that I make. It's like something that I can repeat over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. If you look at my Etsy page, actually right now I have it, I'm away finishing orders, but it's really pretty bare. There's maybe 10 different plaques on there that you can order. Nothing super in depth, but I also get a lot of business. Well, since there is the word of mouth, a lot of the units who are ordering different items for like unit funded things, they come to me quite a bit now too, and that's helped out a lot. So,
how do you deal with just you're gonna go on a go with all your stuff going, but do you ever get into a slump where it just you're just unmotivated and can't push through? And how do you push through those? How do you get through it? How do you work through it?
Well, I just look at it like if I want this to succeed, there's things I'm going to have to do that I don't want to do. I have more of I guess you could say the stakes are higher for me because I'm going to launch full time once I retire next year. So I need to make sure that the customer service and the projects that I make are of quality. And really, dude, you're gonna lick yourself right behind me. Hey. Anyway, I just got to make sure that I am consistent, and the long-term goal here is more important than how I feel at that moment. So I've pulled recently an evening when I jacked up a project in the 11th hour. It was about to be done, and I royally screwed the pooch on it. And next thing I know, I spent the entire night recreating it. And I was up till 5:45 in the morning, and that's when I get the kids up normally and get them ready to go to school.
I saw your post for that. Yeah.
So yeah, I was up, and then I was like, well, I can't go to bed now. I got ready for work, got the kids ready for school, and then went through my regular work day again. So, but then that night I had to pay the piper,
Crash.
go to bed. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, as a resident of the Texas, I have I have to get your opinion on some of the local cuisine. So, with that being said, are you a Whataburger man, or would you prefer to take on Five Guys?
Let's see here. Well, back in the day, so I can't eat that stuff anymore because I've developed a gluten allergy, and I never thought I'd say that, but it did happen. Anyhow, I used to take on Five Guys all the time.
All the time.
All the time. It was so like I don't know if you knew me like 6 months ago or whatever, but I've dropped like 50 pounds since then. So I dropped, yeah.
Oh, well done.
Not a lot of guys, Five Guys anymore, or Whataburger, but
yeah, no salad now.
Salads, that's right, absolutely.
Salads, no salads, no. How about no? What? Any plans for any like big tools that you want to get in there? We know what you know. I'm not gonna hit you on this, but is there any future plans for any bigger tool purchases that you want to bring in to help you streamline your processes and help you get stuff done quicker?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I want to say that hopefully I will have a working Avid CNC machine sometime in the next 5 years. Now, mind you, I already bought it and I own it. It's just not completely put together yet. But back to your question, tools. Yeah, so I need to first get a brick and mortar shop in order to be able to effectively move around and operate. That's the biggest tool, I guess you could say, that I need. And I need it to be like OSHA compliant, because the next big acquisition would be employees. And that's what I want, is to be able to train employees to do some of the things that I do on a normal basis that are, we'll start baby steps, because not everybody's going to understand what I'm talking about right at first. But after a couple months of working hand in hand with me, these little onesie twosie little plaques and stuff like that, they can just knock it out right away. And I don't have to worry about it, So.
Cool. Yeah.
I was looking through your Instagram because I do care. So I noticed that a lot of the posts are posts of finished projects.
That's
Is
right.
there a reason for that, or is it just you don't have time while you're doing it? You don't have time to film, or you just don't want people to see it?
And I have such heavy volume of orders that I don't have time to film processes anymore. I am not a content creator. I am a production. I make things and I sell those things that I make. They're all custom. So if I had more time, I would like to do more in the aspect of like how to. However, I always make it known that if somebody needs help on a process, all they have to do is hit me up and I'll call them and we'll talk through it. But that being said, a couple of my friends, Josh from North Country Woodworking, he does a lot of process videos, and so does Nap from Nap's Naughty Works. But A, I don't have time, and B, I just think that if my customers are going to go to my Instagram, I want them to have a catalog to look through of things, a portfolio to look through, as opposed to sift through a whole bunch of videos on how to do things.
So I guess the second part of that was I had a question for later too, but it was like about YouTube and Instagram. So I guess that goes hand in hand with that, is you don't have time to do. We all know that YouTube videos take a lot of time to do. So is that why that Instagram's the most convenient thing to do?
Instagram is the most convenient, and for some reason, it used to flow over to my Facebook as well, which my Facebook is pretty much just kind of dead. But nobody really goes to my Facebook. But Yeah, super convenient. I make the video or I make the pictures one time, post it, and it's in theory supposed to kick on over to the Facebook page. So I'm killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
And then my YouTube, I don't have a YouTube. Maybe I do. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever made one or not. Maybe I feel like I look. But there's nothing on it if there is. So.
That's funny. You mentioned getting the Avid CNC up and running, but at the beginning you said that you have a different brand. Are you still using that CNC and using it as much as you use the laser, or are you pretty much utilizing the laser for most stuff now?
Most things I try to accomplish with the laser. It's so much faster and it's so much cleaner than running a bit through wood. Now each thing has its, everything has a purpose, and I still use the CNC machine, not as much though. I try not to rely on it as much. That being said, when I do finally I actually have a Onefinity on the way as well. And I'm going to kick that X-Carve out the window. But I think that having both of those machines running simultaneously, it will eventually pay dividends for me, because then I can have bench stock on some items that I normally would have to do just one or two of at a time.
Nice. Question from the chat, not maker related. What is your favorite bottle of whiskey behind you?
Good job, John Boy.
Okay, so right now my favorite bottle of whiskey is Garrison Brothers Balmoral. You probably can't see it up there, but it's on the top of my my little whiskey cabinet. That's my very favorite. And then when I'm slumming it, I love me some Jim Beam.
Loving it up.
And then Victor would like to know, will the Onefinity live on top of the Avid?
I was planning on actually running them over top of each other. Yes.
So what kind of atmosphere is your shop in? Do you just go in and just put your head down and go to work? Do you listen to music? Are you listening to podcasts? What do you got going on?
So I can set the stage for you right now there, Matt.
God.
You walk out of a nice, cool 69-degree air-conditioned house into a furnace that's 105 degrees. And as soon as you walk out there, you just start sweating profusely. However, you listen to podcasts on your earbuds while you're doing so. It's a 2-car garage, so it's not much, but it's a stepping stone, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
There you go. So I'm going to ask you a question about your tools now. One tool in particular, which is your saw stop table saw. Do you believe in this statement to be true or false, that some people can often get complacent after getting that saw?
So yes, I do believe that, and I have done so myself. I have never set it off on my skin per se. I have rammed my miter gauge into it multiple times, and anyway, guys.
Oh, they love each other.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
They're about to wrestle. They're about to wrestle.
Get out of here. Go ahead, man. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So no, I've done it, and it's always at like 12:30 at night too. It's like Woodcraft's closed, and I can't get another blade break till the next day.
How many? Oh, you done, Jamie?
Yeah. I'm done.
So I'm gonna ask, how many times has this happened to you?
Twice. Yeah. So actually, I don't know if you know who Daniel Dunlap is, right?
Yeah.
But he was on the Sawdust Nation podcast, and when I mentioned that to him, he was straight up like really breaking my chops over it. And lo and behold, a few weeks back, I saw on his Instagram, he did the same thing. And I was like, gotcha.
Got him.
Karma.
So I'm going to ask another one real quick. On average, I'm just curious because I'm just amazed on how much work you put out. How many projects do you put out in a month's time?
Well, I try to put out at least 3 or 4 a week. That's a good week for me. If it's multiples, like a large volume order, then I will I'll stop production of other things while I'm just doing this large order. But 3 or 4, and that ranges from shadow boxes. I'll go back and forth, toggle between 2 shadow box builds at a time, and plaques will take maybe an evening. Some of the acrylic work only takes a couple hours, but yeah, it's definitely hard to find time, especially if you work till like 4 or 5 o'clock. Then you got to go to the gym and then come home and feed the kids, and then before you know it, it's 9 o'clock at night. And you're going out in the shop, and you only have like 3 or 4 hours to get things done. I typically go to bed about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll get up at 6:30 and do it all over again.
Yeah, that's.
I seen on your Instagram, because I care, that you guys went all you guys went to Workbench Con.
That is correct.
And so who did you meet, and how cool was it? What did it mean to you to meet all these other people and all that kind of stuff?
So I'd like to point out that your last guest was Brittany Carbone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the picture you have of me for this podcast, I'm wearing a bracelet that she gave me. It's the white one she was handing out at Workbench Con. So it's kind of cool.
You're her
segue.
bestie too.
You're a Twinkie too with her, like
You're a Twinkie too.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
But I met a lot of people that I would have, never have met otherwise. Like Matt Voltner. Actually, he only lives in Houston, so me and Matt linked up, and Nick Birchold. I don't know if you ever seen his stuff. I'll have to. It's not safe for work, but I will send it to you, Jerry or Joey. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
We were there with Daniel from PWN CNC, so we were working his booth, and we got to meet pretty much everybody. I did meet what's the gentleman from that he's on the TV show where he builds stuff for the kids.
Jimmy DeResta.
Jimmy DeResta. I met Jimmy DeResta. Yeah, and at the end of the night, after a couple of drinks started flowing, I got him to yell at my kid to tell him to go to bed on video. So because my kid loves that show. My kid watches that show before bed, and the young one does. And I was like, "Hey man, it's time to go to bed now." And he's like, "No, I don't want to. I want to watch one more episode." I was like, "No, Jimmy said you got to go to bed." He's like, "No, he didn't." I'm like, "Actually, yeah, he did." So I showed him the video, and it was like, he had no idea how that happened. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I met the AWP guys as well. Daniel Dunlap and Pete from Petrie's Workshop, and it was a really good time. I have met a lot of people, and the community as a whole is. I'm proud to be a part of it. So
cool.
Nice.
So you were talking about busting chops a little bit ago, so I'm going to give you an opportunity here.
Okay.
Do you have a rebuttal to Josh's statement of neither one of the other hosts being good?
No, I don't really have a rebuttal. I mean, so if you want to meet somebody who's been on every episode of the Sawdust Nation podcast, talk to Josh. I wasn't an original. I wasn't the OG. I was part 2. So I'd say he is for his consistency and his longevity.
That was way nicer than he was.
Yeah, you took the easy way out.
Well, I'm not allowed to curse though.
No, you're not. No, you're good.
Good
Go
job,
ahead, Matt.
good job.
Next.
We're It's almost over, dude. You almost
No,
made
you're
it.
good. You're doing good, bud.
So besides using napkins to try to plug holes and replacing sheets, what has been your worst failure in your shop so far?
Oh man, I would say letting it that lifestyle get out of hand. That's a lifestyle thing though. Like it's not like a project thing. Like the biggest failure was my inability to recognize when enough was enough and when I needed to pull it back and make time for family and that's where I'm going to leave that. But if you're looking at projects wise, that was the first time. That story I told you earlier was the first time I pulled an all-nighter on something. So that was probably not even a close second, but it would be a second, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people I've noticed in the States have kind of like an everyday carry. Have you got an EDC, and if so, what do you carry?
So yeah, I use the M17 from SIG. It's a 9mm.
So Jamie in America, EDC means something different. He's talking about what do you have with you? What tool do you
Like
always carry with you? Not
He's in Texas, James. He's in Texas, buddy. Yeah.
All right. So I was talking like the rest has an ice pick and all that sort of stuff. All right. Well, I've just
Sorry, guys.
a reel.
No,
you said everyday carry. So
that was great. That was great.
Hey, I knew as soon as he said it, it was going to go the wrong.
Oh yeah, I knew exactly what you were going to say when he said that.
Hey, you can say like knives and ice picks and.
Let's just say that was a bad question.
Well,
what a great answer.
Get them all.
Yeah.
Bad question, great answer.
No, so I guess you could say is there is a Starrett square that I carry. It's a 3-inch square, or excuse me, 4-inch square, and that's my everyday carry. It's just the guy who turned me on to it, his name is William Douglas from William Douglas Co. He's on YouTube, but they call him the Noisy Cricket. I don't know why they call him that, but it's just a square that I carry around. That I love it. It helps me in a multitude of ways, making sure blades are at 90, and from that all the way to squaring up boards and stuff like that, make sure they're good to go before I press on. But yeah.
Cool. So I'm a big tool guy, and I know you wheel and deal a lot on Facebook Marketplace, and you buy stuff and trade stuff, and because that's just what Nick does. What's been your worst tool that you have bought that you regret buying? And what's that?
Let's see. I don't typically, okay, I'll tell you the worst tool I ever bought, but it wasn't on Marketplace. I haven't had any bad buys off Marketplace, I don't believe, unless there's something you're referring to that I forgot about.
No, I'm not. No, I just want to know what's been your worst tool you've.
No, I really haven't had any bad buys off Marketplace, but the worst tool I ever bought was it was a track saw from Makita, and I like Makita tools, but that track saw, just the blade deflection on it got me every time, and I'd be like burning wood and it would just like kick back and all that stuff. So I'm a Festool track saw person now, and before we get into a debate, I'm just saying.
You're not going to get a fight in this crowd.
I've got both, but
You're all right.
I went to Festool because I did have the same issues with the Makita. For some reason, that saw, even though it's supposedly a little stronger than the Festool, but that'll be something that's going to come out later.
Yeah. No, that's the worst tool that I can actually remember being super disappointed with. It was just, I sold it to my neighbor.
Your problem now.
Hopefully
your new neighbor or your old neighbor?
Yeah.
Honestly, it was a guy who was just trying to cut sheets of plywood. He lives down the street and he's happy with it. So, hey, there was nothing wrong with it. I mean, it was brand new. I cut maybe 4 or 5 pieces of wood with it, and I was just having a rough time with it. So that's it.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be the last round of questions. So good job. You're almost there, dude.
All right.
You're doing good. You're doing good. There's tons of different kinds of acrylic, like so many that I've seen that on yours that I didn't know that many existed. So what's your few favorite ones that you use, and where can I look to go see, where can I go buy them?
Yeah, so you can buy acrylic where I buy acrylic. It's at makerstock.com. They're out of Pennsylvania, and the great company. I can give you a promo code if you want after the show.
Say it now.
Yeah.
Plug yourself away. That's what it's about.
I believe it's Sawdust 10 is the promo code. But it'll save you 10% off your initial order. And if that's not the promo code, please get with me. It's in our show notes from our show. So I'll correct myself.
I got you.
I'll recant my statement if that's the wrong one. But they have plenty of different types. They've got the mirrored, the matte, the gloss. They have different thicknesses all the way from your 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, all that stuff. And if you call them or you get a hold of them via email, they can cut you custom sizes as well, which I find that to be awesome because I'm not always going to try and make something. If I want to make things that are bigger, I want them to ship me something that's bigger. Because piecing together acrylic is kind of difficult to do. But I also use a veneer. It's like a brushed brass veneer and a brushed aluminum veneer. And it's all plastic, but it has that look to it. I get that off JDS Industries website. And I don't have a promo code for them, but you have to have an account with them in order to get it. So.
Yeah, they do have some amazing things. JDS does. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. If you're looking to get it's like a trophy sign making. It's like for trophy shops and such. But you can get tumblers for laser etching. You can get. They even have like plaques and awards pre-made that you just have to etch the plate for. Yeah, plenty of stuff. Plenty of good stuff.
Yeah, they've got quite an extensive catalog.
Absolutely.
From the chat, Mary Guzman would like to know, are there any projects that you really just want to keep?
Yeah, so every now and then you have that one project you're like, man, I don't want to give this away. But yeah, on my Instagram recently, there was one sign I made out of that acrylic that was brushed aluminum. I'm trying to find it now, see what it was. And I just thought it was sexy, so I was like, man, I wish I could have kept it, but I think it was the last one I made. That's the professional military education cookie. Since that's my current job. I'm a PME instructor for the Air Force. That would have been applicable for me to keep, but yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. You got one. Sorry. My bad.
Sorry. My last question. What's your favorite type of product to make?
Well, I got to give you two answers. I really do enjoy making things that are new and innovative, for me at least. Coming out with that first prototype off the line, that gets me, gets my motor revved up when I like have the idea the night before and write it down, and then I go out into the shop and I produce, and I just have like this whole like, oh my goodness, I am going to make so much money off of this, right? You get that idea, right? And it's not, majority of the stuff I do isn't driven by money, but just the ability to do something other people aren't doing. So, but yeah, that kind of project. And then after a while, it kind of fades. Well, then until you get the next
rush comes down.
Yeah, then you get the next order in for something else or whatever, and you come up with a new process and you go out and try it and you're successful, then it's worth it, right? So
nice.
Doing that, you do CNC, you do laser. I'm sure that you have a lot of programs that you've been through. Is there a program that you lean towards or a program that you've ever had trouble with?
Well, so I use every one of my programs, I would say consistently and equally. Starting with Lightburn, that one is a fantastic program. Not even just for laser, but if you're trying to design vector graphics, Lightburn allows you to do so many things that I'm sure you could do on other platforms, but it's just easy for me. It's intuitive for me to use. So that I'll transfer, like I'll export from Lightburn and import into CNC file, like into a CNC program, because like I have Easel Pro as well as what do you call it, VCarve Pro. But if you're importing a SVG, it doesn't really matter. It's gonna convert no matter what. The hardest one for me to learn was VCarve Pro, and I'm still not very good at it. So I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But for those of you who like to rip things off the internet, like images off the internet, and you're trying to convert it to a SVG format from like whether it be PDF, PNG, or what else would be a JPEG, you can use Inkscape. It's free. It's 100% free, and you just import it into Inkscape, and then you can convert it into an SVG format. And that has saved me so much money on paying other people to create things for me. So
yeah, that's a good point there.
Nice.
With regards to the laser, is there any materials you would advise people to totally stay away from?
I would say pizza. That didn't go too well when I was trying to cut the pizza on the laser. But I mean, it'll do the job. It's just, I really, if you're using a CO2 laser, you're not going to be cutting metal. So if you're looking to buy a laser and you're trying to cut metal, the CO2 laser is not for you. But other than that, that's really like, if you're looking to cut plywood or what do you call it? Acrylic or shoot fabric. When I do my shadow boxes, I cut the fabric out for the backer with the laser, because it's so much more precise than doing it with a rusty pair of scissors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those, I'd be scared to catch something on fire. Anyhow.
You gotta do it fast. You can't just like linger over it, or else it will ignite. I have ignited my laser before, though, by the way. So
yeah, Naps made me light mine on fire too. If you didn't know that, so
Good job,
Matt. So who do you look up to, or who do you get if you'd like to meet somebody in the maker community, or people that you followed have gotten inspiration that you haven't met? Who would that be?
Well, that's a good question, because I knocked a whole bunch of those off of my bucket list when I went to Workbench Con. But I see Naps in there talking smack about me now.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could meet the one person I could meet in person, I would want to meet William Douglas from William Douglas Co. I mentioned him earlier. And he's a furniture maker and designer, but and it doesn't really translate to what I do. However, he was a huge inspiration when I first started because this guy literally started from nothing and then built his brand and his business into what it is now. So
cool. Nice. Well, I guess we're going to wrap this up. So Nick, if you want to just maybe give us a little, plug yourself away and tell us what you got coming up next, or this week, or in the future, that's going to come out on your platform. Yeah, absolutely. So if you want, check out my Instagram. It's at NPG_creations, and look forward to more signage, more shadow boxes, and more things that maybe you have or haven't seen before. I have a lot of stuff going on in the shop right now. Since I just got back from vacation, I will be tackling that this week. And later on this evening, I will be recording with the boys from the Sawdust Nation podcast as well. Shameless plug, right? And if you need anything or have any questions for me,
feel free to reach out to my Instagram, and I will be sure to return the message. And but like always, take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time, Joey.
Jake.
Jenny.
Shit.
Sounds good, Jay.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Nick. It was a good chat with you. This week, what do I have? I have a student coming over to do some turning lessons this
Nice.
weekend, and we've got Saturday morning cartoons and Patreon this weekend, and then prepping for the next farmers market.
Nice.
That's about it.
Just posted a video about some T-squares, and I am currently working on a video for my lathes where I put them on top of some storage units.
That's an epic Jen's Turn shirt you got
I was
on
gonna
there,
say,
buddy.
nice shirt.
You
like
there,
that?
Matt.
Look at that. What's up
Yeah,
with
Yeah, check
that?
out her Etsy and get that thing. I'm telling you.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
So I'm just going to be recording some videos, putting out a weekly content. I'm not going to be on cartoons this weekend. I've got to go to a wedding dressed as a penguin.
Hang wang.
That's going to be fun. Look like happy feet. So apart from that, I've just got my Patreon, and yeah, that's about it.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the Ninja Turtle running around, providing entertainment. That was pretty cool. We have cartoons. Jamie, like Jamie said, he's not going to be there, so we're going to have Joey and Andrew's going to be on with us, and then we'll have Patreon after that. And me and the kids been doing some yard work and everything, and I'm not as young as I used to be, so I'll be resting up before Saturday. Get over there, Joey.
There you go. All right. Myself is, just working on the next YouTube video. I really don't have any projects. I got a lot of them to start, but it's too hot down here. So I'm going to try to stay in this air conditioned room as long as I can. But I want to thank you, Nick, for coming and hanging with us, and everybody out in the chat. We appreciate y'all. And next week we're going to have Tony Relu. Very, very awesome guy. If y'all haven't followed him, go check him out on Instagram. He has some amazing stuff, and you won't be disappointed.
Mhm.
Very, very disappointed. I mean,
Super nice. Super
Yeah.
nice guy, too.
So anyhow, that's going to do it for us. Same time, same place, same beautiful faces next week. And we're out of here.